Hi, Bob Denny here. This is the first of our how-to videos for ACP and ACP Expert. We have a request on the Comm Center from AAVSO President Gary Walker on how to set up ACP Expert so that it will do a multiple observation of a cataclysmic variable looking for outbursts and have it set up so that it will do one observation spaced apart by 2 hours, then another one spaced apart 2 hours, and a third one, with it allowing things to be done in the middle. This is one of the things that Scheduler does really well. So let's take a look at how to set that up. We're going to use the web schedule browser to do this, as opposed to the web forms for simple series entry, because those forms can't set up a more complex plan like this. So let's see how to do that. We'll get ourselves logged into the observatory. You can do that either from anywhere in the world over the web, or you can go in through the Use Web Browser button on ACP's console by remote desktoping into the observatory and doing it that way. Either way, the main controls for ACP Expert are on the website, and this is what we recommend that you use. So once we get here, we can open the web schedule browser, and what we're going to do is create a new plan for this. I've already created a project for Gary Walker. You can see that here, and that is just for doing outburst monitoring. Maybe he wants to monitor multiple targets like this. It's just a convenient way to organize things. But let's create our plan now. The plan is the minimum schedulable unit. What I mean by that is the scheduler wants to be able to do all of the observations within the plan before it starts the plan. So if you've got these observations spaced 2 hours apart, they all have to fit within constraints before it will decide whether it can start that or not, because it'll start it only if it thinks it can complete it, if you can get that. So the first thing we're going to do is create a plan, and this will be, we're actually going to monitor AGPEG here. So let's go AGPEG 3x per night. That's going to be the name of our plan, because that's what we're going to be doing, monitoring it 3 times a night. There's really nothing else to fill in here. Done. Now, what will this plan consist of? Multiple observations. That is, it's going to take some images. That's an observation. And then later on, 2 hours later, it's going to take some more. And then after that, it's going to take some more. So let's see how to do that. We'll create an observation, and we'll call it, let's just make sure AGPEG observation number 1, right? And we're going to use J2000 coordinates, so we can just pick those coordinates right up off of here and put them in here. This format, by the way, is very open. If it looks anything like sexagesimal or pure decimal, the schedule browser will take it. Okay, we don't have anything else here really to put in. Let's just say we want it above 40 degrees. Okay, that's it. You could put other constraints in, whatever, but for the time being, that's it. All right. Now, how do we create that second observation? Oh, well, we have one other thing we have to do. Put in some images, right? So let's say we want to, well, let's just call this V-band, and that's going to be for 180 seconds with the V filters. Of course, your filters are going to be different, but that's good enough. And then let's say you want some R-band images, so we're going to create another image set for R-band, and we'll call that R. That's enough to illustrate the process here. All right, so we have an observation that will take place above 40 degrees. And here at these coordinates, and it will take 180 second V-band image and a, whoops, there we go, 180 second R-band image. That's it. Now, how do we do that second observation? Let's go back and look at this one, the first observation, and then down here, you just say duplicate. Boom. All right, now let's take a quick look at this. Look in here and see that we have some new fields here that weren't in the first observation. See, it goes repeat count and right to air mass max. Here, repeat count, it has an immediately after or a time spacing and time tolerance. He said he wanted 2 hours between observations, so we'll put 7,200 seconds. And with a tolerance, give it some slop. I don't know if he wants them. He probably doesn't want them exactly 72, 2 hours apart. 1.5 hours to 2.5 hours might be okay. Well, let's just say, we'll give it 10 minutes slop. Okay, that's 600 seconds of slop. All right, so there we have it. Now, what I've just done, and by the way, since we duplicated it, the images are already in here again. Right? Now I can go back and just duplicate this again, and it's already going to run 2 hours after the previous one. So we have it. That's the whole thing right there. What's going to happen now is if it is capable of running, if the target will remain above 40 degrees for all 6 hours of this, it will start the plan. Now there's one other thing here that I need to mention, and that is normally the scheduler will look at all 3 of these observations and project out over time and make sure that they can be run. If they run into daylight, it won't run it. If it's summertime and high latitude and you don't have enough night for this thing, it won't run it. So it has to be able to be run. Anyway, you can tell the scheduler to check the constraints only on the first observation and then start it. So 2 hours later, when it gets to the second observation, then it will check the constraints. And if they're not met, the plan will complete, and it will complete not as an error, but under what's called best efforts. And in order to turn that best efforts mode on, you just click this checkbox here, save changes. And now with this best efforts thing turned on, it will not require all 3 observations to be meeting constraints when it comes time for the scheduler to decide to start this thing. It will just check the first one. If it's good, it'll start it. So for Gary's application, he doesn't really need all 3 of those. He just wants to have them. This is for an outburst search, so 2 or 3 observations per night would increase the odds of early detection. So this is a perfect example of using best efforts. Yeah, we'll do the best we can. It'll allow it to start later at night, such that 6-hour time gap would ordinarily extend into daytime, but at least it'll get 1 or maybe 2. So this is really the best way to set this up. So right now, this is what I would do, and what you can do to do exactly what Gary wants. Of course, before you do anything else, you should resubmit all the plans that are in here to make sure they run. So now they're ready, they're eligible, and they'll run. Now there's one more thing to do here, and that is on this plan, there's a monitor interval. So this is for checking to see if a CV goes into outburst. So you'd want to run this every night, obviously, because he's doing it a couple of times every night. So he'd want to get another 3 the next night and the night after and the night after. So by putting a 1 in here in the monitor interval and save changes, now this thing will automatically start every night. So what this whole thing now does is it does the 3 observations per night, and it will requeue itself every night and do 3 the next night, 3 the next night, 3 the next night. And you can, if you wish, put a time in the must run before, and that monitor interval will continue to run until it hits this must run before thing, and then that's it. So with the monitor. We'll see where it says here, requeue every n days or until must run before. So that's the whole thing. That's exactly what Gary wants, and this is how to do it. A couple other things. First of all, I forgot to rename these things, like number 2 and save changes, and then we can rename this number 3. That makes more sense, right? So save changes, got it. Now, that makes more sense, AGPEG 1, 2, and 3. Also, I really need to mention that although these things are spaced 2 hours apart, that 2-hour gap is up for grabs as far as other stuff running within the scheduler. It does not block out all 6 hours. It just blocks out the period needed to acquire those images, and then all the rest of it, it can shove other things and schedule other things, which is again what Gary wanted, is to be able to schedule these 3 things, but of course the scheduler can fill that gap with other things as it works through the night. Thanks for watching. We hope this will help you. We'll have other videos for you in the future.